A couple of weeks ago, there was a lot of dirty water complaints up. We had a couple of big main breaks in Hull, and unfortunately, they caused some serious water discoloration on your guys' side. Plus, I had to do some hydrant flow testing for the hydraulic model to get it up to speed and get it all 6 years. So we wanted to get it calibrated because we're looking at some water main replacement projects. So it took like 4 or 5 days for it to settle out, but we do have a flushing program that's going to go in place in March and April, April and May probably. Suez put it together. It's on my desk. I'm reviewing it, and it's not going to be like a unidirectional flushing program, but just like a regular, flushing. We're going to flush everything out. I know it hasn't been done in like 2 to 3 years from what I was told. So, in Cohasset being at the dead end of the system, pretty much, and the other end of Hull, whenever there's water main breaks, you guys get affected the worst. So we're going to put a focus on that for the next, between spring and fall. But I'll give you guys a good week's notice before we start, and we will definitely put out a call and put out flyers and stuff on the website.
Okay.
We're moving forward with a bunch of water main projects in Hingham and Hull, and my next focus is looking at, Cohasset and some of the fire hydrants over there and things like that. As I was driving around Cohasset 2 weeks ago, there are some outdated fire hydrants, so I'm going to contact your fire chief and talk to him about, does he have any that he knows are out of service and things like that, and go from there.
I'm sure he would be very happy to hear from you.
I would definitely do that.
Yeah, the chief has documented a decent number of issues on the hydrants over on your side.
Yeah, I'll definitely, like I said, I'll definitely touch base with them. I'll do it this week. I think the fire chief in Hingham was going to get me an introduction with him, but things started, things got busy, and it's my fault too. So I'm just going to take care of it myself, and I'll call myself. A quarterly with all 3 fire chiefs, just so that we can all stay on the same page with fire hydrants, things like that. What else is going on? Filters. We're gonna have the filters. 2 filters need to be rebedded. I'm gonna try and get that done before the season hits. So in the next couple of months, put that out to bid. And then just basic maintenance and stuff like that. There was one service in Cohasset that the resident had a leak on, that we actually spent 3 days with the resident trying to help him figure out where the leak was. And after we found the leak, we decided to relay the service on our side also. So they have a brand new water service from the street to their house. It was a really old service, and it was in really bad shape.
Russ, I had a question. I was just wondering, what are you guys doing on rates? Are you just keeping the Aquarian rates, or are you going to do a rate study?
We're doing a rate study right now, but I know that Aquarian had in the books a 10% increase every 3 years, what I was told. I believe that's going to be put into place this fiscal year. But we're also doing a cost of service or a rate study. So Aquarian would call it a rate study because it has to do with the DPU. We're just calling it a cost of service study. That's ongoing right now. The only thing I did want to ask you guys was, I was told we're forming a citizen advisory board, and Cohasset was going to appoint someone to that board. And I think Tom Mayer was touching base with your town administrator or town manager. I don't know which you have in your town, but to get someone on that advisory board. I don't know if you guys want to discuss it internally and talk about it too, and find someone that wants to be Hingham, 2 from Hull and 1 from Cohasset. And like I said, they appointed Hingham, they appointed Hull. I was just waiting to get Cohasset appointed.
Is this an appointed position from the select board, or is it somebody
In
volunteer?
Hingham and Hull, it was from the select board, yes.
Okay.
Jason,
Yeah,
do you know anything about it?
I believe it's the same here. I'll reach out to Tracy now to make sure it gets on Chris's agenda.
Like I said, I've talked to the people from Hingham already, and everybody's, they're interested in a lot of things. So they're good. They're doing great with me. I've been showing them the bills, like what they're going to look like and things like that. These are things that are real helpful to us, so we can make it a little easier to read than the ones. But I think your bills come from you guys, right? Not from us.
They come from Danny Berman Customized Data.
Okay.
Just like the Hingham ones do. Sewer.
Russ, do you have a base rate, or do you just charge per usage?
There's both, but there's also a bunch of other fees in there. There's an MCAP fee, there's a distribution fee, there's a treatment fee, there's all kinds of fees, and we're trying to make that, a lot easier for everybody. So that's why we're doing the cost of service study. Aquarium through the DOT came up with all these different fees. If it's just a capital improvement fee, then just call it a capital improvement fee and go from there with it, you know what I mean? But yeah, there was so many different fees. It's all based on usage. The fees were based on usage. Like if you use so much water, you get a higher maintenance fee than someone else. So pretty expensive undertaking, but it's got to be worth it in the end to make it much easier for all the residents and customers to read their bills and understand what's going on.
Russ, I have a question for you.
Yep. Good.
Have you or has Suez come up with a final on the billing?
No, that's up to the town. So that's up to Ware River.
Okay. I just didn't know if you had any input or heard anything, because I had one meeting so far with the transition and I haven't heard another word, so I
actually have a meeting tomorrow, Thursday night with the T&E committee. So I will talk to them and I'll have John Monge from Suez and I'll see what's going on and get you guys looped in. But the billing from Suez will start April 12th for sure.
Right. I know I'm fine for my March billing. Well,
Yeah.
meetings for March, but it's just going forward. I thought that, I don't know, I just thought I'd hear a little bit more. And
So
so,
I'll reach out to them for sure, Lisa. Absolutely.
all right. Brenda.
Oh, Brenda, sorry.
But I'm Brenda.
I know it says Lisa, but I'm sorry. That's all right.
Yeah.
Do you know if Mike is coming from Suez?
No, but Mike Aruda, he actually gave his notice.
Oh,
So Mike Leahy, who runs their Hyannis and Hingham operations, he runs both. He's oversees both operations. Will be coming into Hingham full-time starting the week after next. Well, they put out a search. Let's get him on this invite, though. Brenda, if he can do that.
say that again?
We'll get him on this invite for next time, Mike Leahy.
Yep. Once you get me all his
Yep, I'll send it over to you later.
all set, yeah.
All right, do we have any issues with Linden Ponds at all that anyone can discuss?
No, I actually got to fix a fire hydrant right in front of Linden Ponds Friday. So
And I didn't get anything from John Amonte in regards to a report, so.
we are going to start, it doesn't really affect you guys as much as Hingham and Hull because you have a lot of businesses off your side of the system in private areas. But I'm going to start a private hydrant inspection requirement where the private hydrants have to be inspected annually and turned into us, the fire departments. I'm putting that together now. I got a draft from someone and I'm going to put it all together for the spring, hopefully, where I'm noticing the private fire hydrants haven't been inspected in the towns, as much as they should be. So we're going to start a private hydrant inspection where the owners of the hydrants have to hire someone to come in and do an inspection based on the forms and criteria we set forth, and then turn them into us to look at. And then they're going to have so many days to fix any defects.
Okay.
One of those would probably be Linden Ponds. I believe those are all considered private fire hydrants. I'm sure they do a good job, but we just want to get it documented and make sure everyone's doing it.
All right, does anyone else have any questions, comments for Russ?
No.
Okay, we usually meet quarterly.
Yep.
Because of our contract, so we will be in touch with you in the next 3 months to see how things are going, unless something happens, of course.
Yep. You guys let me know. Like I said, I'll reach out to the fire chief, and by next time we meet, we'll definitely have been in contact with each other and get some things done over there.
Well,
Thank
we
you,
appreciate
Russ.
your time today.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next, Don, did you want to come on? Unmute.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Are you turning your video on today?
He's phoning
I am
in.
not. I am.
Oh, he's phoning
driving
in.
home
I'm
right
sorry.
now,
I
so
just noticed that.
It's
Okay.
okay. So fiscal 21 financials through January looking in good shape. Continued good shape. 62.5% collected. We're still looking ahead of schedule based on usage and our connection fee revenue. Nothing else to really note on the revenue side. And expenditures, we're in good shape. 46.6% general expenses. So looks like we have a good little surplus going so far. It's really all I have for the January update.
Okay, if anyone noticed on the revenue side, I noticed it seemed that Linden Ponds was a little low, but I talked to Brenda this morning about it. And they are only paid 6 months. It's not 7. So we are over 51% for 6 months. So we're right on track.
Yep.
Anything else that we want to discuss on this? Everything is looking good. You're confident on what we're doing, Don?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We're going down the right road. Good. That's what we like to hear. Next is our budget. We did not vote on our budget last time because we didn't have the indirect costs. Do we have any comments or questions on our budget for next year? Steve? Is Steve still here?
Oh. I have no comments. I'm gonna log into my cell phone. My camera's not working on my laptop. I don't know why.
All right,
Okay.
I'll let you in.
Sorry about that.
Okay, do we want to make a motion to accept our projected budget for next fiscal year?
I would just ask that maybe, I'd like to discuss the water superintendent possibility, and that could have an impact on indirect costs. So would it be agreeable to do that and then vote on the budget?
Okay. Now, I do want to bring something up as we start this conversation. I was looking at some old paperwork from about 11 years ago, and there was a discussion at that time that we were going to have a water sewer board with the town engineer basically in charge. And at that time, they were looking at a water and sewer superintendent. And we would be having 5 water and sewer commissioners. And they would be the water superintendent plus the town engineer and DPW. We would also have contract operators with water and sewer. And since that time, we have not melded water and sewer together. Instead, what we did was hire a town engineer. And then we've hired a second town engineer. When we hired the first town engineer, we have been paying for services through indirect costs. And we are paying for services for the main town engineer and for Jason through our indirect cost. And Jason, in my opinion, has been doing the job of the water superintendent because he's also working for sewer. So it seems as though we do have this position in between us and the town manager who is overseeing and also working for us in an engineering capacity and working on RFPs. But go ahead, John.
Okay, I think we are in somewhat of agreement that Jason is effectively acting as a water superintendent, but we're only getting 50% of his time. And I think there should be an official recognition of Jason as a water superintendent, if he's willing to take on that role, and that he should allocate more time, and we should be willing to pay for more of his time. I feel with only 50% of the time, Jason is getting necessarily pulled in many different directions. There's a lot of things on his plate. And I see the role of water superintendent being very different from the role of Woodard and Curran. Woodard and Curran's role, as I see it, is day-to-day operations of the plant, making sure we comply with state and federal regulations, and making sure our customers are getting high-quality water, all of which I think Woodard and Curran is doing an excellent job on. But Woodard and Curran does not have a role of what I see being a water superintendent, which would be looking at the long-term plan for the water plant, the water department, which not only includes the plant, but all the pipes in the ground, the whole infrastructure, budgeting, figuring out how best to use our limited resources to meet the demands that we have, the very important demands we have, looking at rates. What are the rates? Russ just mentioned they're looking at all that over in Hingham on how best to charge our customers so that we make sure we maintain our plant, we plan for the future. There's also the important role of interfacing with the select board and the community at town meetings. Those are all very important roles, and also interacting with Woodard and Curran and the critical role they play. I think the water department is certainly, I don't think anyone would dispute, a critical resource in our town. It's also one of the potential biggest long-term liabilities for our town. We have an aging water plant that at some point will need to be modified in some form. And we may need a completely new water plant. We may need to make substantial renovations. It was built at a time when many of the regulations we currently have are not in existence. That could be potentially $30, $40, $50 million, which is a lot of money that needs to be looked at. We also have pipes in the ground. Many are 100 years or older. That could range in millions of dollars, if not tens of millions of dollars, to manage that part of the infrastructure. And I don't see it as Woodard and Curran's job to manage that long-term planning and determining how best we look at things for the future. I think it's critical that we have somebody full-time doing that, looking at it. And then we look at recent examples from Texas. I'm not comparing us at all to Texas, but look what happens when people don't have water or electricity. It's a critical resource to any town. And I think it warrants having a full-time person with the skills and expertise that Jason has to fill that position. I also see there's cost savings in doing it. For example, we hired a outside consultant to do a rate study. I think we were not all that pleased with it. Jason has taken it over along with Don, and there are cost savings there because we have not had to go out and hire someone else. So for all those reasons, I think I agree with Lee that Jason is acting as a water superintendent. I think we should give him the official role, and we should properly compensate him in the town for 100% of his time. That's all I have to say on that. What's that?
I'm saying, Steve seemed to raise his hand.
Yep, I just hit the unmute button. No, I agree with John. I mean, you are running a utility company that should be fully oversight. But I could throw this out there. You can do a 70-30 split for the first year and see how it goes. At Jason's time, it's 50%, right, Lee?
He's a little less than 50 right now. He was 50 last year.
So if we say look at
Or this
70,
year,
right?
yes. Pardon?
Say we look at this, I'm just throwing this out there. If we look at 70% of his time and 30% with the town, we can see how the first year goes. So you're not fully committed as well either. And see how his time, Jason, nothing against you, that. It makes sure he's not getting pulled out at, for other town stuff, because Chris is Chris Senior and Brian's is his boss, right? So, I look at maybe do it 70% and a 30% with the town. So we don't take the full blown 100% cost and see how it goes the first year and revisit it the next year and see if, his things has gone well. I'm assuming they will be. Oh, they will. Oh, did I lose everybody?
Yeah.
No,
now
No,
you're
we
back.
can still hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
And so that's what I was trying to say. And for me, I say, why not, right? But, I think if people are amenable to a 70-30 split, it's really, it's up to us and, Jason, that's, if you want to try it for the first year, that's all. I'm going to repeat myself 3 times, but.
Okay, now, we've had Jason on board with us for quite a while. When I initially got on the board, American Water was running the plant, and we had a full-time engineering firm working for us, which really didn't work out very well. I've been very happy with what Jason has been doing. And as to Woodard and Curran, if you take a look at the whiteboard in the office, they are up to date on everything that basically needs to be done. They have been giving us information about what has to be replaced. We have a whole capital project that they've been working on. If you take a look at what our town reports have been for the last several years, they're managing that and they are telling us what is in the pipeline. We now have Fred, who is our new general area manager, who I think has been working very well with Jason. And I'm happy with the structure as it is. I don't see where there are any deficits. I don't see where we're not getting the quality of work that we need for the time everyone is expending. And at this crucial time where we basically have the budget done and it was supposed to have been in already, I don't know if this is appropriate to start discussing this. If we feel that it is something that we want to expand next year, but as I said, we've been successfully working with everyone for the last 2 to 3 years. That's my opinion. I don't see
Okay.
I
what we
respect.
could get that we're not getting.
Well, I think the big difference is that you have a town employee that would be more held accountable than. And I'm not mentioning contract as a negative term, but you have somebody that's a full-time Cohasset employee that's going to
Wait a
be.
second, we're paying for Jason out of indirect costs. Do you want to take Jason out of indirect costs and then do another line in our budget to put all of his costs in that? Is that what you're saying? Because we are specifically paying for everything for him. It's not just the hours, we're paying the whole ball of wax. Anyone who is doing any work for us through the town, we are paying for all benefits.
Well, actually, I was just going to ask that question. I don't know if we are. I don't know. Well, this could have to be tabled to following meeting, but I don't know if that's the case. If he still fall under the DPW with a different role, I don't. If he still falls under the town engineering, and if he's, I'm trying to say this right. Is the town assuming the cost for his, obviously his pension and healthcare stuff? Because actually, we don't have a job description to look at either. If it falls 100% under us. That's why I had kind of mentioned a 70-30 split for the first year and see where it falls. Or if we get some more information how his benefits fall under us, if it does fall under us.
I
We
believe
mean
when,
his benefits.
I believe when Don did the math on the existing, he includes all the fully loaded cost. So
Fully
you get
loaded.
I mean, if you
50%
took a
of my
look at the
fully loaded cost.
spreadsheet,
That's my
Yes.
understanding as well.
It's
Okay.
here, it has his salary, other allowances, pension, health insurance, Medicare, workingman's comp, and total EE cost. So we're paying
Right, so
every,
if I
on
could,
a percentage basis. Don, you want to say something?
yes, thank you. So if he was split, even if he was 100% a water employee hired by the town of Cohasset Water Department, if I'm just doing the whole 100% case, right? The 100% of his salary would be paid out of your fund 65, your operating budget, directly. Then his benefits that are borne by the town would be then allocated indirectly, still as part of the indirect costs, or we'd parse out his health insurance bill every month, which is just a bit more of a clerical pain. So it would just be really done as an indirect. We know what the cost is, and it would be done just like we do it now, except for the salary piece would be taken out. So 100% of the salary would be paid out of directly out of your budget. All his benefits would be paid as an indirect. If that clarifies anything.
Okay, the other thing is if we do, as Steve suggests, do a 70-30, we'd just be doing the exact same thing we're doing now, except increase the number of hours and the percentage of everything in your
Exactly.
indirect cost.
Yep.
But
Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
with that, I don't know if that would satisfy you, or do you feel that if he is working still for the town under Chris, that he could be pulled away and not be giving us the time that you feel that we are not getting?
So that would be up to Chris, Brian, and your commission to kind of sort that out. I mean, if it was split 70-30, I mean, yeah, maybe some weeks or months, he may be doing 100% water, just depending on the workload. And, it's not going to be an exact, he's not going to be submitting a timesheet, keeping track of how many minutes he's doing for each department. Like, it just doesn't make sense to do that. So, I mean, it really is more of an estimate and than an exact science to how his time would be split. But still, if the water department would be expecting to get more out of Jason, that would have to really come down and be agreed upon by Chris and Brian, I believe.
So do we want to table the budget and then have a discussion with Chris and Brian at a meeting?
I mean, I just think
Chris, are
that
you
would be
here?
the most efficient way to do it, because I would hate to see this voted and the expectation be 70% and then it not really be agreed upon between, the two departments and Chris and everybody being on the same page.
I think, I think that'd be a good starting point.
Okay.
All right. so
I
we
would
wanna
also
table
just
the
go
budget now?
back, if I could just chime in, and again, this would probably have to be agreed to by Chris and Brian. I'm still a proponent of 100% of Jason's time. I am concerned that he would get pulled in lots of different directions. And I think this is a very important job that will require all of Jason's time. So that's my 2 cents, but I'm certainly would like to see him in the position, and hopefully we can reach an agreement on how best to do it.
Chris, are you here? Do you want to chime in at all? Is Chris still here? Do you know?
I see Chris's name, but
We
He
don't
may
know
have
if
walked
that's,
away.
is that Chris Senior or is that just Chris?
I don't know. Who's
With
Chris?
who? Is it Chris
Jason, when-
Senior?
Jason, when you do your time card, you just do like a 40-hour. Is there any FERC codes that go along with it?
No. I mean, we have codes, but I've just under one, my time goes under one budget, so it just goes in as that
Oh,
one code.
gotcha.
See, now previously, we used to have Brian Joyce and Chris at all of our meetings. But that became extinct when Jason came on board because he's been acting. Is
As
this,
the water superintendent.
yes,
Right.
you have it. I just don't know if, Jason, do you feel as though it's a full-time job or you
I think
getting
it's,
too
I
stretched?
think I am stretched pretty thin at times. I think, yes, you asked me to do things and I say I haven't gotten to it. There's still stuff that I haven't gotten to that you're gonna probably ask later on in the meeting. What's the status? And I haven't done it. Yes, there are times when I could use more time to dedicate to your projects. The water main project isn't out to bid yet because I just haven't had time to finalize it. Whatnot, things do get delayed because there's not enough time.
And that's time management, Don, because you have 3-4 different jobs, 6 jobs in town. So, I with my utility background, it's a commitment. That's what it takes to run a fully operational, department, but I know Lee and John have a lot more experience than I do, with the Class of Water department. So that's why I suggest maybe a 70-30 split, see how it goes the first year. And, if everything
Well,
seems
the
good,
only
then
problem is though, this, as Don said, has to be discussed
with
with
Chris.
Chris and Brian, because if that happens, would they feel the need to hire a third engineer in town? If they're taking Jason away from the other work he's doing?
And we wouldn't have to pay for that person either
What person?
if they had to hire another person.
Sure we would, out of our taxes.
Oh, your taxes you would, of course,
That's right.
but not out of the water budget.
No, not out of the water budget, but I mean, this would be an increase for everyone in their taxes. So this is, I don't know if we can make a decision right now without consulting with Chris and Brian.
I can with Don bring that to Chris and Brian and have the discussion at the 70-30 split level and see what they think. If that's what you guys want.
Well, we have to
I'm
see.
happy you appreciate my time. I could say that, and I'd be happy to do it if it works out. I'll be happy if it doesn't, but I'd be happier if it did.
Well, shouldn't there be a meeting with the board and Chris and Brian?
I think so,
Yes.
because maybe they might suggest 60-40. So we can't just, or we have,
How long can we hold off before submitting our budget?
Well, I mean, the water and sewer are going to be presenting March 9th. So
March
there's a
when?
couple weeks. March 9th. And
That's
realistically, town meeting is until May 24th. So if there was a last minute change of 20%, it can be done before we finalize everything for town meeting. So there is a little flexibility in time here. I mean, again, would have been better to have this all buttoned up and ready by today, yeah. With budget presentations coming up in another 2 weeks. But look,
isn't there a budget
20%, it's not gonna
presentation
be a
coming up this week with the advisory board?
excuse me?
Isn't there a budget presentation coming up with the advisory board just to see what the general budget's going to look like for the town coming up this week?
Tonight, yes.
Tonight.
That has no bearing on your budget.
Okay. And how would this
So that's all I'm
affect the
saying,
bid
is that there's
study?
a little bit of time. I mean,
Mhm.
it would be nice to get to these, your board and Chris and Brian together, like as soon as possible to discuss this. I know Brian's aware of it. I'm pretty sure Chris has heard rumblings of it. So won't be a surprise to anybody, but I think it just.
It's a
probably
shame
does
they're
make
not
sense
here
to
at
have
this
it.
meeting right now.
What's that?
I said it's a shame, since they are slightly aware of it, that they had not decided to join the meeting.
I guess the
Well,
other question is,
Come on, I don't know if they knew the exact agenda. So
do you
That's
think
out of
it'd be
my
worth one of you being assigned to meet with Chris and Brian and myself and Dawn ahead of the next meeting to have the discussions?
I'd
I
be
think
happy to do that. And Lee,
Yes.
maybe you can attend too, because if we have
Sure.
different opinions, I think it's important to hear everyone's opinion.
But the problem is then it's a
It's a public meeting.
it would have to be
Right.
posted.
All right. Well, what I'm going to propose is that I make a motion to set forth our intent, subject to approval by Brian, Joyce, and Chris Senior. I'm sorry. So I'm going to make a motion that we appoint Jason Federico as water superintendent to the Cohasset Water Department, paying 70% of his salary and benefits, subject to the approval of Town Manager Chris Senior and the head of DPW Brian Joyce.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Steve, aye. John, aye. Lee, no. I would like to also find out how this would affect our rate study.
I can do that.
Okay,
So if whoever attends, it's whether it's Lee or John, can they can report back on their discussion, or do you have to wait till a public meeting for that?
no, I think we can report back on the discussion because it's information only.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay. It'd be good to know how that plays
Chair,
out.
so I think it's your call as to who meets with Chris and Brian.
Well, I can meet with Chris and Brian anytime they're available.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Jason, you gonna spearhead that or am I? Well, who's doing it?
I will.
Okay.
You know, and now Lee is the chair. I would have her be the one in that meeting. And she'll just report back with that, the outcome, it impacts. Is that okay?
That's okay.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so I will go. So now, so we are going to table the budget and the rate study. Or do we want to do the rate study presentation with possible modifications?
I would say do it with we're just looking at the generic
Okay,
presentation I sent out, not necessarily specific. It's not, that's minor change. It's not going to affect the rates enough to change the presentation.
all right, regarding the rate study, prior to our last rate study, I did send Jason some information that in January 2013, that we had a 10% across the board decrease in all of our rates and recovery charge. Because a prior water commissioner promised the people that we'd do this. That's how we got down to our current water rate of 511 and 1022. So just so you know, and so this is going to be the first time since 2013 that we are looking at new water rates,
Usage rate.
usage rates. Yes, the last rate study did do variable rates with the recovery charge. I just want to make sure everyone was aware of that. Okay, Jason, sorry to interrupt. Go right ahead.
Oh, excuse me, I gotta get going. I gotta pick up my daughter. That's why I'm on through the
Okay.
phone. So I'll circle back with Jason tomorrow to discuss anything that comes up from this rate study presentation discussion.
Sounds good. Thank
Thank
you,
you, John.
John.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
So you guys got the entire presentation. Do we want to go through it side by side, or do we just want to have a generic discussion about the presentation as it is?
I would go with the generic presentation. It seems pretty straightforward. I mean, it's up to Lee and John as how far they want to go. How deep.
Okay, the only advice I would give for the presentation, I was discussing it with Jason earlier, is possibly to put in a slide that shows improvements that we've made to stabilize our financial position, like with the last rate study that we initiated, the unmetered unit meter charge. And we also have the antennas. And we know we've done other things to make sure that we are stable. We have an agreement with the town now for the hydrant fees that was kind of fluctuating previous to that rate study. And it has allowed us in the last several years to do several improvements, as we can see, looking back in the town reports of everything that have been accomplished under Woodard and Current with infrastructure and plant maintenance and upgrades. You know, I just think he should have this as sort of an end of presentation. So if people are having questions about, well, you know, you have a reputation of not whatever, we can show that we have been doing quite a bit with what we have been getting in without any of the increases that we need now for our mandatory regulations and infrastructure updates. But that's my only suggestion. John, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah, but that was just sort of a positive slide so that people realize that we have been diligently working to keep our costs as low as possible and do as much as we can. And looking frugally at where we are and taking advantage of whatever we can to make do.
That's a good idea. It really is.
Yeah, so I'll start off with kind of a recap slide of the previous rate study and what the capital improvements that were done since that study were.
Now, we're going to be presenting this on March 9th with the select board.
I don't know. I think March 9th is the budget. I don't know if March 9th is article/capital as well.
Okay.
I would assume we're going to have to, because if we're going to present two budgets, they're going to want to see why there's two budgets and not one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask Don that question, because the sewer is going to have a rate increase too, proposed. So
How much is their rate increase? Do you know?
they're keeping me in the dark. They don't want their rate increase to affect my rate increase.
They've been getting several rate increases over the years. John, do you have any suggestions about the presentation?
No, I think everything you've said sounds good.
I concur.
So I'm reformatting it too to be a little bit, hopefully, nicer looking too. But I will make that extra slide change to you asked for, Lee. And then look at what was done since the last rate study and put something together and send it out.
All right, does anybody have any questions about the one slide that Jason put in about all the capital projects?
The third, fourth slide.
It's the fourth one, I think, yeah.
Yep. No, actually, I think it's pretty good, actually. There's a lot of stuff in there, you know, in what years. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. It shows that the water department's actively looking at replacement of water mains and get the GAC, and I don't have my glasses on, but you know, various other items.
There's a lot of information in there, but I think it's more of just I don't expect people to be reading the entire list. It's more just we do have a plan, and we're not just making up numbers as to why we're increasing the rates.
John, you're
Sure.
off. Oh. Okay, do we have any other questions about presentation?
Nope.
Do you want to make a motion to accept the presentation so far that Jason has completed it?
So,
Second the motion.
so we have to make the motion, correct?
I don't
Yeah,
know if
go
you
ahead,
can make a
Steve.
motion to accept the presentation.
I don't think you have.
You can.
So we make the motion. Should we make the motion pending the add and slide?
But I mean,
I don't think it's necessary to make a motion.
Okay,
no.
I don't think.
Fine.
So, yeah.
I mean, if anybody has a problem with it, just say you have a problem and I'll change it. They're not. This isn't a legal document.
all right. That's
Because I'm going to
fine.
make changes to it. I'm going to make changes. I don't like some of the wording. I personally don't like it, so I'm going to be making some changes.
Uh-huh.
So if you vote on what's there, then I can't make any changes.
Good point. Good point.
Let's move on to plan automation.
So we had a meeting with DEP in follow-up to the last meeting, and their first and most critical comment was the site's not secure. So in a follow-up to that, we've working on getting 3 quotes for fencing out there. The current low quote is $45,693. We'd like to move forward with that, one, to help with the automation process, but also for security purposes. We have installed some temporary security fence after my presentation to the select board. So we put some temporary security fence up after that. So we'd like to make it a more permanent fixture. And I gave you guys the plan of the proposed fencing layout that quote is based on.
Jason, I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
If maybe I'll just list my question, let you know my questions. You can answer them any order you want. I was wondering, does the quote include site work such as do we have to remove trees? Then the question was, do we need a building permit? I know we looked at this before at Elms Meadow, and because of a fence is higher than 6 feet, I think there's a bylaw saying a fence can't be higher than 6 feet. Bob said he was going to waive it. Now there's a new building inspector. We probably have to do the same thing, get that by reviewed and approved. And do we need conservation approval because we're within the 50 foot of a wetland resource? So those are kind of my questions on this.
So
And also, I guess my final question is, do we need to do a formal bidding process? Have we done that?
Yeah.
Given the amount.
So there are no tree removals given the location we're putting the fence at this point in time. There's no building permit required. I talked to the building inspector. He said typically only would permit an 8-foot fence if it was on the property line. Ours is significantly inside the property line, therefore would not require a permit. And the end of the fence is outside of the 50-foot buffer zone because we're going to end it at the tree line. By the pond. We're not going to go all the way to the pond at this point in time. We may extend it at a later date, depending upon what DEP says as far as the extent they want to go along the pond's edge. So I'm just going to end it for the time being at the tree line. And we are getting 3 quotes, which is under $50,000. So 3 quotes is sufficient for this.
Okay, you've answered all my questions. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. I think this is something we need, and the state has said they want us to do it.
Okay, Jason, we've only had one quote so far come in.
I got a second one via text that was for $76,000. And I'm waiting for my third. If one does come in lower, I will obviously use the lower quote. But I'd like to get authorization for up to the $50,000 for fencing around the plant.
All right, and this is going to have the gates. You both
gonna
have
have-
seen the fence,
it's-
right? that
It's going to
Jason
have
posted?
It's going to have two 18-foot rolling fence gates. The gate posts are the 4-inch diameter posts. The corner posts are 3-inch. It's all commercial grade fencing. The one piece I'm asking him to add to this quote, he has tax, so he's going to take that off. But right now it only has a top rail. I'd like to get a bottom rail on it as well. It's currently calling for a wire bottom, but I'd like to put the full post style bottom rail in.
I think that's necessary.
Yeah.
Yes, it
So
is.
I asked him, he goes, you won't be over 50 even by putting that in. So that's why I'm asking for not exactly this quote, but not to exceed $50,000.
Okay, now do we put a sign on the fence for citizens' nasty comments? Contact Jason.
Well, as I said, I may have been a little bit over the top in my presentation to the selectmen as far as the security here, but it's at least a known issue at this point in time. So I guess there will be less questions about why we put it up now.
Well, I think as
Yeah,
water
so-
superintendent, if this is approved by Chris and Brian, then all these questions will go to Jason. Or we always say, go to Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
yeah.
remember my first month when I was on the water commission, the plant manager happened to see one of the residents walking by his window with a diseased invasive fish that they were trying to dump at the intake. So we never know what's going to come down the pipe.
Right.
So that is the first step in the plant automation. I mean, tag, and also we need it. So that, I mean, there might be a follow-up even to get plant automation. He might require us to not allow recreational use on the pond anymore. He's still trying to determine what he's going to request if we decide to do unmanned operations. So
Would you have to go around the whole plant on
We're
to the
gonna
water
go-
side? Cover, almost go by, kind of blocking the intake area?
So we're gonna go all the way around the plant and then tie it into the sludge lagoon fence out back. So that'll basically encompass the whole area.
Wow.
And
So with
the
this
other-
fence, you're almost there. You just got to do one piece afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I make a motion that we authorize Jason to spend up to $50,000 on fencing to secure the plant as the state has requested we do.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
motion was passed unanimously.
and he said weather permitting, we'll have it in by the end of March.
Wow.
If he can't put it in if there's snow on the ground, but if there's no snow, he'll get it in. But then to follow up on unmanned operations too, and it didn't make the list, but I know we had talked about that cybersecurity upgrade to the plant that I sent you guys out from Woodard. That's another piece that DEP had said that they're looking at changing the regulations on cybersecurity. They haven't said what that change is going to be yet, but we believe that there won't be any waste in this request based on what our SCADA people are saying as feedback. So if you guys are amenable, we'd like to move forward with that upgrade of the cybersecurity for creating basically a DMZ connection into the plant. And just so everybody knows, we are not susceptible the same way that the Florida location was. That was using a LogVPN style connection, and that's not how we connect currently. But it's still not as secure as it could be.
Do you know the cost of doing that upgrade, Jason?
I'm looking right now for that quote.
10,000. I got it.
You got it?
And also I updated that spreadsheet of mine to reflect these costs, 10,350.
There you go.
So when I sent you my one page, well, it's the big spreadsheet, I put in the fencing, I put that in, the replacement of one of the motors or pumps that we know we need to replace, and some other line items that are kind of high ticket. I put it all in there, and we're still at, we still got money if something was to go wrong.
That's good.
I think I showed us at 30% still of our budget.
Good. I did see that.
Okay, and before we get off of this, just want to let you know, I did sign up for another course with American Water Works for their hacking and cybersecurity. So this will be the third course I'm taking with them.
Good. Thank you, Lee. Do we have to vote out? Do we have to make a motion on Jason's request? Or can
I
that
would say
just be
yes.
spent from the current budget?
That's just gonna come right from the current budget.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say that you guys approved it.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
it might be worth getting a vote because it's going to Woodard Engineering. I'd rather get you guys voting officially for
Alright.
everybody's sake.
Okay, motion?
How much is the price? 10,300?
Hold on, no, hold on. 10, I've already forgotten. 10,350.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the cybersecurity upgrade for $10,350. Can I get a
Second.
Motion.
All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
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 So we will be still trying to work forward with the plant automation. But it's probably a long-term goal, not a near-term goal of accomplishing. Am I correct in saying that, Fred? Is that you?
You're muted, Fred. There you go.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
If anybody went by Lily Pond this past 2 weekends and saw the amount of cars and people out on that pond, in order to stop recreational use out there, you would have to fence the whole area because they were parked all up and down King Street, even with our temporary fencing in.
Yeah, as the DEP guy said when we were on the phone with him, he said, let your water commissioners know that even though you can't see me, my jaw just hit the desk when you told me there's recreational use on the pond. He said that's very uncommon for a water supply.
Especially those folks ice fishing I saw, like Cohasset 143.
Yeah, they had the tournament out there.
Nice.
Nice.
Hey,
So then,
We have to make sure our Conservation Trust knows that they cannot develop where the Ice House Foundation is.
well,
actually, the interesting point that was you brought up about recreation use is that, you look at Aqua Pond. I don't think there's recreation use is allowed there. Even though you might see somebody fishing here and there, but you don't see people skating on it or doing anything on it.
I mean, if you read the regulations to the T, it's supposed to be permitted recreational use only. on the pond, on a water supply. I kind of think we should take baby steps when it comes to this and not,
Yeah.
especially when we're looking to raise rates. I don't know.
Do
Putting the
do it
fence up
after
is gonna
the
be bad
fact.
enough.
Do it after the fact.
Well, you
Look
know,
at-
unfortunately, I think we're going to be in the same position that we are with the well field, that it's been just forever in Cohasset that they've been dumping on the well field. And even though for the last 10 years we've been working against it, they still haven't stopped. And this is, how many times have we heard from someone growing up here that, oh yes, I was out there doing this, this, and this. So it's going to be a long slog.
Yep.
Okay, next, PFAS.
So we have the grant in, waiting to hear. The award was supposed to be at the beginning of February, but we have not yet heard. I guess we'll wait on that. In the meantime, just for reference, I had asked Tetra Tech what a potential cost might be out there at Elms Meadow for construction. Their estimate of construction cost from start to finish, including engineering, is $710,000. That's a lot of $10,000 savings of Lily Pond extra cost before you pay off $710,000. So if we can't get some free money to help with Elms Meadow, I'm not sure that it's going to be a viable source in the future. The only other option would be to see if we could blend the water, but we haven't yet looked at that option.
So,
And how much would the yearly,
12 grand, approximately 12 to 13 grand.
so when you do the PFAS remediation at the plant and you blend Elms Meadow,
The way you
that
blend
would
it,
actually-
the way you blend Elms Meadow is you would take and create basically a raw water pipe to like the Bear Hill tank, and you'd pump the water into Bear Hill tank and use Bear Hill tank as a mixing point to dilute the Elms Meadow water. So it would be a
And you-
study involved in determining whether that would actually work correctly.
Gotcha.
The benefit is all the pipes in that area are ancient, so we could use an existing pipe that's in the ground being used for service that's scheduled to be replaced and use it as a transmission main back to the tank potentially. And therefore you wouldn't be actually spending any new money out there. You'd be spending money that we have to spend anyways to replace the water mains.
So when you blend it over there, you just take the sample from over there and see if it works.
that's an interesting concept.
Yeah. We should look
Well,
in.
That's my idea.
Well,
You know, at some point, once you really look into it.
Yeah, it's on the list of, I mean, I
I know,
wanted to see if
it's-
we got the money for the pilot study first and then move our way back from there.
Okay.
so hopefully by our next meeting, we'll have some information on that.
No. Oh, on the grant.
I mean,
not
on the
blending.
grant, that's all.
Just
Not the
making
pilot
sure.
study. To know we're taking the first baby step.
I need more than 100% of my time to get to can we blend.
Okay,
See, these are
Next.
good examples right here. Jason, why don't you get going on that? Take a look.
390 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, what's happening? Do we get any money, Brenda?
Nope. No money.
I believe they were going to come and ask for a payment plan. I'm not sure if they. I'm assuming this Chris is our Chris, but it could be any Chris in the world.
Yeah. No, I thought it said Chris Senior when they came on, but
So we'll just leave it at. There's no one here to discuss it, so I would just leave it as no update. We are not providing them water still to the state.
That sounds good because they did not do the payment they said they were going to do. Okay, next is 397 Beechwood, letter to Board of Health.
So that system's already been installed. I did go to the Board of Health meeting and state our case, and there was a lot of questions about why I'm asking for more regulations up there, and I said because it's on the water supply. They voted against it and allowed it to go through as it was.
Really?
Yep.
You know, this is what I don't understand about some of these boards.
So my new task from them is to look at other places where there's surface water supplies and what regulations they have around them. And my first blush look was most of them are sewered. So I have some homework to do with the Board of Health on that, but I will keep you up to date as we go.
Now, remember way back when we've been discussing about getting CSCR involved in doing some testing in the Beechwood area, considering they're so involved with the harbor, and Bound Brook runs into the harbor. Do you think?
I actually have a request in. Do you want to talk to a high school student about water quality, Lee?
Sure.
I'm gonna get you an interview.
Okay.
With Katie Holden's daughter. And then she's going to do some testing for me in the watershed.
Good.
Based on your discussion. So
Based on my discussion, okay.
I will put you and her in an email after this, and we can go from there. But she reached out, and her daughter wants to do, she's working on some project. She needs to do 8 hours of community service, and she wants to do it on water quality. And she needs to talk to somebody in town that knows about it. And Katie thought of you.
Sounds good to me. We'll work on that. Okay. Anything with CIP and GAC update?
Yep, we completed the plant tours. I'm trying to copy. They gave us a whole download of all their photos and videos. I'm trying to copy it over to our OneDrive so that I can share it with you guys to your Cohasset email addresses if you want to look at stuff. But there's a very a lot of positive feedback. They said it's a very well-maintained plant. One of the more well-maintained plants that they've seen given its age. So that was a positive. They did say they'd never seen a sludge setup like we have in their entire careers. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. They will be attending, we have a meeting with the USGS in DEP on our sludge discharge, so they will be attending that as well to make sure that it gets incorporated into the CIP plan accordingly. And the GAC pilot was completed. The unit was finally picked up after about 15 attempts and shipped back to Ohio. We are expecting a final report within the next week or two.
When, Jason?
I believe in the next week or two. Or draft final report, I should say.
Okay. Well, let's see. Jason, you brought up an item near and dear to my heart, sludge. It was Woodard and Curran who came in and did the in-house sludge processing. Now, we've been talking about expanding the sludge lagoon forever. Anything new? So
that's the USGS/DEP/EPA meeting that we have Thursday? Hold on. Tomorrow, Wednesday. So we have a meeting to discuss that permit that will be issued for the discharge of the lagoon, at which point we can regroup on what that expansion and or sludge processing will be in the future. We've been waiting for that study to be completed for 2 years now. They finished. Yeah, it's been going on forever. Full 2 years ago, the last sample was taken.
And while we're on sludge, Carl, I did notice in the MOR that our sludge was down considerably in January. What's our projected date for the sludge removal?
Well, I was hoping this spring and still am. I spoke with Solid Waste Solutions last Friday. He returned my call, and they are unable to take the sludge. I spoke with Saybrook this morning, and their facility that they've been using currently cannot take it. So it's going to be week by week to find out if where it went last time we'll be able to accept it. So not great news.
Now, let's see, where did it go last time? Was it Connecticut still?
No, Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Weren't we looking at someplace up in New Hampshire before too?
There is a facility up there that was accepting it, but that fell through. You know, that was a year and a half ago now. You know, that we were in such a bind that we were looking everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There is a facility in New York that will take it.
Mm.
It has to be 27% solids, and we can't meet that. So it would be extremely expensive to ship it there.
Yes, I know the shipping cost would be, especially with the fuel going up in price. Fred, are you having problems at the other water systems getting rid of sludge like this?
Actually, my other systems are wastewater. I can talk to Joe Gary and reach out to other contacts within the organization, ask that question.
Okay. Any other questions on anything we've discussed so far?
Any discussion on the public education statement that needs to go out?
Oh, that's right. So we had, you guys got that. We also got, I can just show you what we got. We did reach out to the PR firm, and they put together a draft cover letter. Where is that? We are still working on the wording, but they kind of have put together like a nice cover for this. If I can find it, Matt Reed. So we are looking at doing something similar to this as the cover to the handout that the DEP has developed. So to kind of downplay the issues. This is not final. This is a bunch of comments, both from Carl and myself, on what the final wording is here, but they're going to try and put together something that's a little bit less intimidating than the official DEP one. You did send that one out, right, Carl? The one to the board, the one you got yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah.
So on that note, the duplication of that, to get it done, once everybody approves it, Danny Berman can't do it. He's 2 weeks out anyways, before he could get to it. Jason, I sent to you and Carl where he suggested, I think it's something through the post office.
Oh, I thought he was saying that was him. He was going to do it that way. I read what we can talk.
Yeah,
I read that differently.
I was confused because if it is something, I think I need to talk to like Jen Oram to find out about who they use. Because when the warrants go out, it's all postal permit. They have it duplicated and da-da-da-da-da.
It's Tracy then. But
Oh.
yeah, we can talk to Tracy.
All right, yeah, because I don't want to have to recreate the wheel. Danny has all my stuff. That's why I figured I could just go to him.
So this is basically like a 4-page letter that's going out?
It'll probably be, yes, because one will be the blank part that has the mailing information on it.
Yeah,
Do we have any
formats.
idea of the cost?
No,
Huh? No.
No idea of the cost.
I guess the other question, Carl, and maybe we should ask this to DEP again, is they say or other method. Will they accept other method or not?
I don't believe so, no. No, they want to see a mailing. And I asked about, the town including their own letter. And they have no problem if it's a separate letter. Once this is formatted, it will have to go to them if it's going to be, 4-page format with hours on top. I don't know if they will accept that.
Is there a deadline that DEP has put on us sending this out?
No, they're being lenient with that. By regulation, it's to be done within 30 days. However, they realize that they, DEP, are the ones that have held this up.
The other person I'll reach out to too is Carol St. Pierre, because she probably does mass mailings too, up at Town Hall. So we can find out who people are using for it and get a price to you guys.
Now, are we sending this to every resident or just our water customers?
All residents.
Okay.
It's cheaper and easy. Well, I mean, if we had to do labels for just our customers, yeah, postal permit, it just goes to everybody. And I think, Carl, didn't DEP say it had to go to everybody in Cohasset?
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
Okay, we'll just wait to hear from you to see what the cost is and if you need anything else from us.
I would assume we're going to do it whatever the cost is. Realistically, it's regular.
Yep.
So, but we will let you know before we do it, obviously.
No, but I mean, I don't know whether or not we have to do any other approval before it goes out. In the event DEP requires something from us to approve, or it can just be between you and Carl.
I would say unless you guys have something, I mean, we can send it out. We can send it out, and if you guys have any major issues, we can make a change if we can.
We could appoint Lee, so we don't have to have a board meeting, just to work with you, Jason and Carl, to get this out. Would that be acceptable to you, Lee?
Yep.
Okay, I make a motion that we appoint Lee Jenkins, the chair of the Cohasset Water Commission, to work with Jason, Federico, and Carl on getting out the required notice on PFAS.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion unanimously passed.
Jason, if they have any questions, you leave your cell phone number on the flyer.
No, that is the funny thing. The one thing Chris said, and it's a good point. He said he didn't even want Carl's number on it. Chris Senior said, I erased Carl's number and put DEP because
Yeah.
this is the DEP regulation. I don't
Right.
think
You know,
DEP is
actually-
overly thrilled, but
Actually, and this is actually being all serious though. I mean, how many calls Brenda is gonna receive when people start reading this?
Yeah.
I'm thinking only 1% is going to actually, less than 1% is going to actually read that whole DEP notification.
Yeah, well, when it's 4 pages long, you're right. They
I
won't-
didn't even get through the first paragraph, Steve. As soon as I heard Cohasset's okay, I was like, all right, we're all set. And I put it. Well, if anything, I think they'd be happy to see the pretty PR piece that the guy put together, Matt.
and I think that's the point is you have a page with pretty pictures on it. They're going to stop there. And
Yeah.
most people are going to stop there.
Yeah, you're right. Most people won't read it.
No, it's just so much information on there. It's overwhelming.
Well, it is. And I mean, look, they never even read the bill inserts that were short that we put in.
Oh, yeah. Can't type.
but
today.
we have to comply.
Yeah.
Okay, before we forget, meeting notes approval.
Yes, I make a motion that we accept and approve the January 19th, 2021 meeting minutes.
I'll second that motion.
All in
All in
favor?
favor? Aye,
All right.
Aye.
unanimously approved.
I'll get those to you, Brenda. I'll sign them and get them to you, Brenda.
Thank you.
Abatements, we did have a request, but the person did not pay their water bill per the regulation. So I think we should table that until the next meeting and see if they pay their water bill.
I agree.
I agree.
Any commission comments on anything?
No comments. Just keep up a good work, everybody.
Okay, any thoughts on next meeting or just let's continue in our same realm of see who's available when? Looking towards mid-month? Do you have a special day or anything now that schools might be changing a little bit? Or is school changing? What's happening?
So for, so at least for me, I know Matthew will be in school, I think full-time March 1st. Now, I can't speak for John because his kid's a little bit older. So,
Yeah, they're not doing that at the middle school and high school. And as it was explained to me, without going into too much detail, is they're able to meet the state minimum requirements at Osgood and Deer Hill for 3-foot spacing between students, but they're not able to meet that at middle school and high school if they had everyone come in. So we're still doing the hybrid learning model at the middle and high school.
So Tuesday is sort of the best day for you?
It is.
you know, and if it does help, I could squeeze out during the day as well at some point. As long as I get a
Thank you.
good heads up.
Okay, so Brenda, do you want to do your typical survey and see who's available?
I
Give
can
us
do
2
that.
Tuesdays in the month and see what we can work out for that, for the next meeting.
Yep.
And then we'll be in touch. Is there anything else anyone wants to say about anything before we close?
Nope.
I want to thank everyone for coming, Fred, Carl, Jason, Steve and John, and Don, who is gone already. And we were happy to have Russ Tierney from Ware River Water. And I make a motion to close our meeting of February 23rd at 4:42 p.m.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Favor.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Lee.
Motion
Thank you, Steve. Thank
unanimously
you, Brenda,
Thank you,
Jason,
everybody.
Carl, everyone,
Everybody.
Fred.